Welcome to Bon Nuts, where we'll be applying the Manzer or Mosi Thurlow scale of quantitative analysis of pop culture narrative through a binary system.
This podcast contains spoilers, mature content, and language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Lost Signals, where we are tonight reviewing Black Panther. I'm Rich Perry, and I'm joined by Luis Duran.
Good evening.
Chris Morgan.
Good morning.
And Scott Thurlow.
How goes it?
So, we usually start things off with a funny log line, so mine is Black Panther : Welcome to Wakanda. And which one of you guys wants to start off with the intro, body, and conclusion?
You can take it, Lou, if you want.
All right. I'll always try to. So as I can, you guys can jump in too if I miss anything. So it starts pretty much with the history of Wakanda, and see a meteor. Oh well, it starts kind of like not a fairy tale. It starts like a
campfire story.
A story told to a child.
Baba, tell me about our history.
Yeah. And we find out a very brief history. Wakanda, a meteor containing a lot of vibranium crashes into a small portion of Africa. 5 tribes kind of unite around it, and you see flourishment of
plant life,
technology. Any kind of wildlife,
sort of the hidden valley.
Prior to humans, obviously there's like a lot of wildlife and plant life that prosper
is
through
infused
that.
with it. Yep.
Once mankind is on Earth, there's 5 tribes that kind of unite and isolate everything that's beautiful about that part of the world to create Wakanda. We're introduced to the different tribes, one being I didn't write that down. One's kind of like a isolated tribe. In an isolated country, there's an isolated tribe.
They sort of break off from the little
break
union.
off. They come to find out later, they worship pretty much the gorilla god rather than the Black Panther god. Once the story's done, we're brought back to present day. 1992, which is Oakland. Where there's children playing outside in a basketball court. We're brought into an apartment. There's 2 men kind of going over a heist. When there's a knock at the door, there's the Wakandian...
The Dormelage.
The Dormelage. They're at the door. One of the gentlemen that we don't know who it is yet tells his accomplice to answer the door because they don't knock twice. Come to find out that they're pretty much ambassadors there to...
have a little word.
Yeah, to have a word with, we come to find out, is the brother of T'Chaka in Jobu.
And I have to say that came my first great line of the film, where he's like, "There's 2 Grace Jones looking chicks outside."
It was nicely set up there early. Agreed.
That's awesome.
So they both find out that, we come to find out that Jobu is a Wakandan. He shows his tattoo underneath his lip, and he tells the what are they calling?
The Royal Guard, essentially.
The Royal Guard. That no, the other guy can stay. He's part of this team or whatever. And then Chaka shows up as Black Panther, and he pretty much implicates Jobu, saying, "You're my brother. You're here. We come to find out that vibranium's been stolen. We suspect you.
You tipped them off."
Yeah, you said that you tipped them off how to get in and out of Wakanda with the goods. And Jobu just lies to his face, tells him that was not me. And then the big reveal is that
spoiler, it was him.
It was him, and the accomplice is actually Wakandan, and he was a spy. Jobu gets mad, and he takes a shot at accomplice Black Panther. I'm not quite sure if it was really aimed at what would be Forrest Whitaker's character.
It's a younger Zuri.
Yeah, it's a younger Zuri, but I'm not sure. I don't remember quite well. I thought he was aiming at Black Panther, to be honest, and that's why he killed him.
It was somewhat. It could be.
I think it was a little ambiguous.
Yeah.
But Zuri took it that he...
All I know is that after he knocked the gun out of his hand, he really didn't need to stab him through the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jobu dies there. They leave his no, they take his no, they leave his body. They leave his body where he camera pans back down to the basketball court. You see the ship fly away, disappear, kind of like a UFO. Brought to present day. Shortly after, I think it's a week after Civil War takes place.
Very shortly after the events of Civil War.
Chaka's deceased. He dies in the attack
at the UN.
At the UN. And essentially, Black Panther, T'Challa, is on pretty much bringing back.
He's returning to be crowned king.
He's returning to be crowned king, but he's also picking up his who he considers his ex-girlfriend and his beloved, so she can be there for the ceremony. What's her name?
Nakia?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, Nakia. It's kind of there's a battle that they have with what I'm assuming is Boko Haram. She's an
XP for them, if not them outright.
Yeah, she's a spy. Also, within the women, they take them down. He tells her about Chaka's death. They go back to Wakanda. They do
crowning
to speed things forward a little bit. They do the crowning ceremony where all the tribes are present, and you can present a fighter to kind of take over the mantle or take over, be the heir apparent, be crowned king essentially. So we don't have the same sitting king with the same bloodline, all that. And one of my favorite parts of the scene is Jobu. No, not Jobu. Sorry. M'Baku. With the see, that's why I should have written these down a little more. With the isolated tribe that we were introduced earlier.
They're basically the isolations.
So they essentially, it's pretty much a battle to the death until someone yields. He refuses to yield, but he ends up doing it anyway because T'Challa tells him, your people need you.
I don't want to kill you either.
He doesn't want to kill. Yeah, he doesn't want to kill. And after that, we're finally introduced to Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger, so to speak, at a museum. He is looking at artifacts that seem, not necessarily spectacular or anything like that until he comes across one when he's talking to the museum curator and says, you have totally everything wrong. That thing's made of vibranium. That's come from Wakanda. She doesn't believe it. He poisons her, unbeknownst to her. And
what did she say? You got to pay more attention to what's in your body or something like that.
Yeah, you got to pay more attention to what you drink.
It's all part of his plan.
And she did a really good job, the actress, I have to say, of kind of like it not being like one of those things like, hey, I poisoned you, and she falls over. Like the whole time she just kind of twitches, or you could tell there's some kind of
immediately
discomfort.
It's clearly the audience out like something is a little
it's like something's amiss.
Shady.
Yeah.
That was actually a really good heist scene. To be honest,
it was great.
It was so it totally played on the expectations that I had.
And what was it with Andy Serkis shoots everybody, and he's like, "Go ahead, you can be the one survivor," and he shoots the security guard on his way out, and Michael B. Jordan's like, "What? Why didn't you shoot him over here?" And what do you say? He goes,
"It's like people want the bodies more spread out. Makes us look like amateurs."
Yeah, it makes it seem like like we're lesser. So anyway, so they steal the vibranium.
They steal the vibranium. And essentially, they're going to sell it on the black market for a shitload of money. That eventually tips off Black Panther and their crew, saying, vibranium's on the market. That is our metal, our precious metal. And not only that, Claw, who is been a thorn in their side for generations,
appeared
literally Chaka's T'Challa says Claw escaping is probably the one thing that he regrets the most in his entire life, and not being able to fulfill, bringing him in and prosecuting him was his biggest regret. And he tells pretty much his best friend Wakabi, I'll bring him.
I'm going to get this motherfucker.
So
pretty much.
We get introduced later, prior to them going on the mission to finally capture Claw. We're introduced to a little more of the characters. We have Shuri, who's pretty much the tech.
His sister support Q, as what we
she's Q.
She's Q's to T'Challa's bond.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. She pretty much upgrades his suit, upgrades all his weapons and everything like that.
Like
the
sound absorbing shoes. I call them sneakers.
Yeah.
Nice little.
Yeah, that was amazing. So fast forward, they go to Korea to try to intercept Claw, get the vibranium, and then pretty much wrap it up. A little James Bondish.
Yeah, it did feel a lot like that scene specifically.
Especially with the you get to the casino and everything.
I'm pretty sure it was straight out. That was straight out of that casino. Was straight out of either Bond or Inception or both. Because that looked very familiar. Yeah. It looked very familiar. Well, anyway, we're introduced to Freeman's character.
Agent Ross.
They're in an underground gambling ring, underground gambling casino. Which is redundant. Sorry,
a secret casino.
Anyway,
We'll call it.
It's and they're there pretty much scoping at the scene where they see Freeman. Chala goes up to him, and tells him, I know why you're here. You know why I'm here. I'm leaving with Claw. Claw shows up. Everything goes to hell because they get made, and fight ensues. Car chase ensues.
Good one too.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
It lasted just the right amount of time, too.
Yeah. All in all, they capture Claw. They bring him back for interrogation. Everything goes to hell again because they get caught up, among the mystery of Wakanda, get caught up in not trusting each other and taking way too damn long to get the information that they need.
Yeah.
Where Michael B. Jordan
shows up,
pretty much Killmonger pretty much busts him out and gets him out of there. And at that point, Martin Freeman is pretty much given a lethal wound. So they decide to bring him back to Wakanda. And from there, we get... I love the juxtaposition of the storytelling, I gotta say. Because it was really good on par with just we're gonna see little Michael B. Jordan, little Killmonger, and then we're gonna see little Chala. And... Oh man, I totally skipped over the coronation.
That's okay. We'll
go back. Yeah. Anyway, so just try to wrap this up. Killmonger kills Claw, brings his body back to Wakanda. After Black Panther kind of comes back with his tail between his legs to Wakabi saying, no, we didn't bring back Claw, we brought back Martin Freeman to save his life.
Brought back a white boy instead.
Yeah. Wrong white boy.
Yeah.
Another broken white boy? Another broken white boy?
Probably another broken white boy. So Killmonger comes back to Wakanda with the body of Claw to Wakabi, and he pretty much helps catalyze this. I would say the second act through to the third, where he says, I have a blood right because we find out now in front of the council that not only did he bring Claw back dead, he is also the son of Njobu, which is Chala's uncle. And nobody knew about it because Chaka decided to keep it secret for
30 years.
Through his death. So after the fight that they have, I guess the second ritual fight.
Yeah, he's challenged again to trial by combat.
Yeah, he Killmonger, which I'll call him by his real name, N'Jaka, tosses Black Panther down the waterfall and essentially usurps the throne. He becomes king, and he says, you know what, we're going to do the exact opposite of what you've been doing for the past, since the beginning of this country.
Since Wakanda was founded.
We're going to spread out. We're going to completely not be isolated. We're going to be imperialistic. We're going to destroy all our enemies that we feel are not worthy.
Or threatening us, that we're going to destroy them first.
Yeah, essentially, it's a very political and I'd say imperialistic. You kept calling him, he was exactly the enemy that he was fighting against. But anyway,
yes. So he starts
during that meantime. He goes through his coronation. He gets the Black Panther powers. He goes through the ancestral plane, talks to his father. He comes back, burns the garden that they have with all the plants
that produces the
heart-shaped herb.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to them, Nakia, she takes one of the herbs to bring it to what is it? M'Baku,
leader of the isolationist tribe up in the mountains.
Yeah, as a kind of a peace offering, and say, our kingdom's been taken over by someone that's not worthy to rule.
We need your help.
We want you to take this herb. Where it's revealed, he brings him to pretty much a comatose Chala, who survived the waterfall and the battle, but he's in a comatose state. Yeah. They give him the plant. He's back to he's resuscitated. He's back to being Black Panther, and now he's pretty much a battle for who wants Wakanda more.
It's a civil war.
Yeah, it's a civil war. Yeah, it's Black Panther Civil War. From there, everybody they all team up. Essentially, they go after Killmonger. try to prevent all-out civil war. They try to prevent
the weapons
the
getting out.
vibranium weapons going out to the rest of the world.
Yep.
And I guess everything kind of just culminates. They were able to bring down the ships.
And
Black Panther defeats Killmonger.
they do pretty much. They do exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
after some hard fought battles and some close calls.
And Rhinos with
Yes, and
vibranium,
rhinos and armor.
vibranium,
Vibranium.
Indeed.
So yeah, after that, Killmonger is defeated. Wakanda decides it's finally time to step out of the shadows and help the world. There's
On their own terms.
on their own terms. T'Challa purchases a few set of buildings in Oakland where the beginning of the movie started. And then later in the post-credit scenes, he delivers a press conference saying,
announcing their presence. And
essentially saying, we're going to help. We're going to provide a resource that we have. Everybody still thinks it's a third world country. And then it ends. So that's a little longer.
Bucky's no longer brainwashed.
yeah.
And Bucky's no longer brainwashed. A little more along a bridge.
And when they say
Version,
you
yeah.
still
A clean Bucky shows up at the very end.
Yeah.
So
Got him off that smack.
yeah
Got off that Russian,
What'd they call him?
Russian
Wait, what?
robot arm.
White Wolf.
White Wolf. That's it.
Yeah, White Wolf.
So
Which is awesome.
So I'm going to say about the plot that I'm looking at a pretty solid 3 because all the stuff you described, like you said, Louis, they did a good job of bouncing back and forth between the storylines, of like cutting between the characters of Killmonger and T'Challa and like his little crew and friends and family. And then when he gets usurped, like their little sort of spy plan action.
And how they subtly, like, as soon as Killmonger became king, the movie became his.
Yes.
And then T'Challa and his
Exactly.
family were the supporting
It
characters.
was really well handled in that sense. And I have to say, like, it was perfectly paced as well. I would submit to you guys that it had me instantly, and I never lost interest. There's never like a moment where I was like, they're losing me and slipping, and it's a little out of focus. No, it was tight as hell the whole time, and I was pretty much riveted. So I think in terms of the plot, the story, I'm going to have to give it a pretty strong, solid-ass 3.
Oh, without question. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, the movie was really, really well focused.
Exactly.
We were talking about this, Rich, Beth, and I after the movie. And one of the things that, like, my favorite Marvel movies, let's say, are the ones that are focused and don't revolve around saving an entire city, saving an entire planet, where you have things that are more intimate stories, like...
I'm going to speak to that very quick, soon enough.
Like, something like Winter Soldier or something like Ant-Man.
Exactly.
Those kind of stories. And that was a great point about the fact that the movie became Killmonger's after he became king and everybody else was. The movie, I agree with Scott. I think it's probably pacing wise, just
it's pretty spot
an
on.
Objectively, the way the film is constructed, it's like a goddamn near perfect movie.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I totally agree.
It's 3s all around.
Yeah.
That's
Sounds like it.
definitely 3.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that.
No, it's
Solid.
it's a tight film.
I'd say, it's some things that I definitely noticed, and it'll go into style as well, is that I can always, in each of the 3 categories, I can pick one scene where I'm like, you know what, this stands out
Yep. That's
as a compliment to everything else as well.
Exactly.
And that just added more to the, I didn't feel like anything was wasted. There wasn't any scene wasted.
Right. Well said,
Where I'm
sir.
like, like, if you took this out, I would feel like the movies would be the exact same. I'm like, no, I think everything on screen was totally perfect.
Yep.
For what it was.
Agreed.
And the thing is, and also I think we alluded to this here, and we definitely precast, and something else that goes part and parcel with my favorite Marvel films. There's no fucking MacGuffin. They don't mention the Infinity Stones, which I loved. I mean, seriously, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, we get it. I want a story, and I don't want it to be around the same MacGuffins we've been chasing. And I love the fact that this, like the best ones can be a self-contained story. You don't feel like we're leading up to the Infinity War. It's part of the universe. Okay, we don't need to dwell on it. Let's tell the story. This is a family struggle. The movie's about a family, and that's what the focus was. It was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. That's somewhat so. I think you sort of not stole, but covered a lot of ground that I was going to cover in themes, which I think are on to. I think it was going to be to you anyway.
It was going to be to me anyway.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this: it's a very personal story. You're right. But think this way, in a very good way, in all the ways you just said, because it's like I said, a smaller scale, as you said. So there's no overarching, like, the world's going to end, because you know that they're saving all that for Infinity War. So they almost can't have that. If they had it in this movie, it would have felt totally forced and didn't make any sense. So the fact that, like, you sort of know as a fan going into it, that's going to be like smaller scale, but that means they can have such a tight focus on T'Challa and his cadre, his inner circle, and his conflicts with a new family member who we didn't know existed. He found out something about his past family history, about his father, that was hidden from him, that complicates things. So it's a very personal journey, and that's why I think it was so focused and so tight. That's what I think it stands out at you. And right? It's a smart move to do that. And it
wasn't like you had to essentially wanted to give everything about this character, but because the Black Panther is a lineage, it was not an origin story. Like, the movie was an origin story. The prelude when, T'Challa is being told by his father their history. There's your origin story.
Yeah.
Boom.
And it looked
got
awesome,
the fuck
too.
out of it, which is amazing.
We'll talk in style about that for sure, but.
But if we're going to touch on themes, since we're already here.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm definitely.
I'll allow it.
I'll allow it. It is. It's a family film. It's kind of hard to.
Well, that is a film about family,
right? But I mean, it's just. Yes. I mean, thematically, that's what it boils down to. It's like the interpersonal struggles. It's kind of hard to add to this.
Well,
thematically, because because it is a personal film, because it's about family. You're kind of familiar with all these themes because we all, have function and dysfunction in our families, and you've got loyalties and you've got all sorts of things. And it was really neat to see this dynamic. Yeah. And everybody's human. I mean, cause these people are royalty, and in so many times you see royalty as there's always this snooty, aristocratic, matriarch or patriarch where everything's got to be the same. And there's always this dynamic when you're talking about some kind of a royal family. But this one seemed like it could be anybody's family. Like the mother was, I mean, there was tradition and there was things like, at the end when T'Challa comes back, he's like, I never yielded at the fight. I mean, so you have little formalities like that, but everything in this family was accessible. It could have been, you could take this story and adapt it. It didn't have to necessarily be a superhero movie. So while I can't really say that there's one theme, and you guys can probably help narrow it down, I felt that all these themes were organic that could be part of anybody's family. So.
I got one, Sins of the Past.
Yes.
Yeah, all right, great.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was going to say, like, Sins of the Father and yada yada.
Because T'Challa is trying so hard to move, like, to be a better man. And, like, what I like about this, he's carrying the lessons that he learned from Civil War. Like, where as soon as he figured out that revenge was eating him, he, like, sees the mistakes that, like, how it was eating Stark and the Helmut Zemo.
Yeah.
And, like, all these things, he wants to move past it. He wants to make himself a better man. And, like, he wants to do the same with Wakanda. And, like, when Okoye, like, talks to him about, like, we should be out there helping, and then Killmonger shows up and he, like, through the pain of, like, his life, he, like, sees, like, these two lessons he sees these two people, like, had the same idea. One he trusts, the other's got a good idea, but he's just, like, executing it bad. Like, he wants to move forward. And it's real, like, I love when he goes back to the astral plane, or the,
ancestral plane.
And, like, calls out, like, it's like, all of you get down here. It's like, all of you are wrong. We need to do better. And he's like, it's like to see him, just to see, like, how much trouble has been caused by just, like, one tiny mistake.
Yep.
And he's like, he knows, like, it's like, we have to do better.
Yeah. I agree with both you guys. Those are both, I want to say it this way. They're obvious themes, but the movie does not slap them in your face.
No.
Yep. It's so perfectly, like, organically melded. And I would say, I'm going to add another one, is that sort of like discovering who you are within your culture, especially when you discover, like, you may be part of two worlds that might be at odds, but still coming to terms with, like, growing into power, like you said, trying to, like, live up to your father's name and to your own image of him, even then discovering something that might not be, like, he wasn't as proud of. and having to deal with that as you come into power, as you come into responsibility. So in Killmonger is sort of the same way, just sort of from the opposite end of the scale in a sense, like the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
So I thought it was all very well done. It all melds together, and each of these themes is weaved very well, like I said, very subtly and organically throughout. And there's no, like, they didn't have to oversell it because all the actors did a great job with their parts. So again, it feels so natural that all that stuff is there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a lot of credit on that front.
Before we finish, though, to add to both of yours, one thing that was a recurring theme as well is man over country or country over man. Like the way, like, I love the way that they play with like the loyalties that every character had. Like, no, that's our king. I have to serve our king because that's what Wakandans do. Like, that's just what we do.
It's part of our culture.
But there's also the dynamic where it's like, no, I'm like, I don't need to serve my country. Like, I need to save my country as well. Like, when you see something's going bad, like, it's your right it's your duty as a citizen to make things right. And I think Black Panther, like all of them, like Killmonger, all the characters essentially had that
sort of mindset.
Yeah, they had that conflict in them, and they all went different ways. Until it got to the one point where it's like, you know what? No, I can't be. I guess like kind of like a Jedi, like absolute can't be talking about absolutes. Like, there is a gray area.
Yeah, and it's all about perspective. It's everybody wants the same thing to a certain,
and like it's. I love how like it didn't take a lot for them to make that leap, like not really leap, but like to realize that there are gray areas.
To come to that,
because like any other movie, like you'd have T'Challa just like stewing over like trying to like bring these two like, oh man, this is what I'm supposed to do.
You'd be like brooding over it.
Yeah, but like you see throughout the movie, like he's listening.
Yeah, he's observing and he's learning and he's growing. Yeah. Exactly.
And I hope let's say this protagonist.
There's a lot.
But regardless, I'm giving themes a very strong one for everything we just said.
Yeah, me too.
Because
I like themes
how
for
deftly they put them all in there.
Scott, that brings you to antagonists.
All right, Eric Kilgrave himself, or Killmonger. I'm sorry. There's so many like generic kill name villains in Marvel. No, Killmonger, and he's one of the best Marvel villains we've seen. But sort of because of everything we just said, because he's not like a superpowered supervillain, really, like he has an agenda, yes, and certainly he took a long road to get to it. But you understand his motivations very well, like they're very clear.
I think what makes him dangerous is his conviction.
Yeah, agreed. And like you can see why he has a conviction, like how like you said, how the sins of the past sort of like shaped him, and how he's confronting it, how he's dealing with it. And so, like, I wouldn't say he's a sympathetic villain, but he's not, like, unsympathetic either.
He's a sympathetic villain.
Like, there's definitely some sympathy to, his plight,
but, like, it's not enough to be like, you're still a monster.
You don't want to be on your side. You're still doing some bad shit here, dude. But I understand, like, why you were brought to that point. Like, what made you bring, how you arrived here. So, yeah, I think Michael B. Jordan did a great job, as him. Like you said, I think him and Chad, Boswick, had a great chemistry like, on screen with each other. I believe that they were like cousins, like that they were in a power struggle essentially and trying to like convince the other one of the like why you should do it my way, or like no, your way is not going to work. We're going to do it this way. This is the way it should be, and all those interactions. So yeah, I'm gonna give him a lot of credit, and I guess like Claus is always like fun to see in a Marvel film. Like even though spoiler, he ends up as Louis said, they killed him off. Which is sort of like...
At least they killed him off for a purpose.
But he had like, the screen time he did have, clearly he had a good time with it. Like, they give him a nice little like way to shake down, like the way he played it. So yeah, and his little crew. So I think, but certainly Michael B. Jordan is like the standout, like the main villain. And he does a great job at it. And again, it's more down to earth in a sense. So you understand his motivations are very clear and they make sense.
But we were talking about this earlier, and I was thinking, I think antagonist is a really good description for him because I don't really see him as a villain. I mean, to be honest with you,
right? Like you can see why.
I mean, he is the most complex adversary we've seen.
If not the.
I mean, in the Marvel films, I think he is the most complex, most sympathetic, most dynamic antagonist we've had yet.
He's very well rounded for sure as a character and as a
definitely well rounded
antagonist.
Because with Winter Soldier, which has been the high watermark up until now, the antagonist was more of a system, not so much as a person. And here we have a person, and and there's another villain we talked about previously in a podcast I was going to draw a comparison
A Marvel villain?
No,
Okay.
just one where we talked about, like, in terms of an antagonist, about being sympathetic. And I think
Right.
he is probably, as with all things in this film, I think you can take it out of the Marvel universe, adapt it to something else. This character is very human. This character is very relatable. He's not a mustache twirler. You
He's the
understand.
opposite of that.
Yeah, you understand his anger, even if you don't agree with his methods. Like at the end, when T'Challa is just like, you don't have to die, and he's just like, no, bury me in the sea because our forefathers knew it was better to die than to be in shackles. And like, I knew I didn't want him to die, and I was kind of hoping he would take the third way out. He would go on ice with Bucky or something. And to be honest with you, that's when I really started crying in the movie theater, because it's a tragic.
Sure.
It's not, there was no like, hey, we defeated the villain. I really wanted T'Challa to win because I knew he was.
I think they set up that tragedy earlier when he's in the ancestral plane with his father.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like his father just like is just broken down to tears because he realizes how much he's fucked up his and his son's life.
Yep.
And he like, you
Oh,
can tell
yes.
he's like, he's past the point of no return. And even even Killmonger knows, because he starts crying. He's like, I can't turn back now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost, it just made me think of this. It's almost Shakespearean in a sense, like
Yeah.
to the plot, and especially to like, again, the familiar struggles and inheriting, like how you inherited your spot in life and what that does to, like, how that shapes you and who you're going to be. And I'll have to add this too. We also talk about how effective, sometimes the antagonists are, like just skill wise, we'll say he was a very effective fighter. Like he was in Iraq, I think they said he was a SEAL
He was
or
a
something.
SEAL,
Yeah,
and he became
SEALs.
like a Spec Ops,
Yeah.
like Ghost Squad.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like all that too, like, so both his
He was actually,
motivation.
if you listen carefully, like the way they described him was how Bucky described the Russian super soldiers.
Ooh, oh, no.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing is I wanted him to live because I wanted at some future point Bucky to talk him off the ledge
For them to like,
yeah, to him to be like, you don't have to be like this. You can,
Damn, that'd be a buddy cop movie. I'd love to see.
Seriously, that's yet another reason. But I think that's a very good point about, his father, because I thought it too. And I also thought, like, with, paradoxically, you have T'Challa's father, who's like, hi son, you're dead. Welcome. Come on. Don't go back. Come on this way.
Time for you to join
And he's
us.
like, no, Dad.
I got work to do.
You have to own up to your sins. And then, but the dynamic between one father, both men worship their dads. And you find out one has in the astral plane or whatever redeemed himself, and the other one is still kind of living the lie.
Still holding on to
They're
old ideas, yeah.
Yeah, you're dead with your ancestors and you're still holding on to this bullshit.
It's because he's got a whole field of people that are just like, you did the right thing.
Yeah. It's the enabler. Yeah. It's the another thing about families. You've got this
Sure.
enabler thing with like, all right, let's bury the sins of the past. And one more thing about him is that I considered him a genuine threat. I knew that, yeah, this is a Black Panther movie. Chadwick Boseman's in the Infinity War. We know he's gonna live. But while you're in the moment, to consider this guy a threat, to think that, yeah, he could kill T'Challa. Like, this could be in the moment where you think like he could kill him. I think that goes to that. This is gonna cross many things, but that goes to his strength as the antagonist. It also has to go to strength, how this man was written, how this, if nothing else, this is one more reason why this movie's so fucking strong.
And also how the supporting cast sells his dangerousness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because
That's
like
a
I
good
didn't we'll get to that later.
But yeah, no, like all around, like for being a well-written character, well acted, well written, and well, realized, and everything about him made sense, and he was a threat for sure. So I'm gonna give him a pretty strong one.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a 1. You guys,
One's all around.
hit it on the head. Yeah.
And I'll bring it to me with Protag, the Black Panther himself, King T'Challa.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, his character development continues from Civil War, and he proves himself to be, I think why he proves himself to be a good king is his willingness to learn from the people around him. Like, he does not hold himself as, I'm the king, be all end all, like all this.
He doesn't close himself off.
He doesn't close himself off.
At first he did though. There was the one scene with the council. He was just like, all right, no, like this is what we're gonna do.
Well, he was still because he was because he had just come off the lesson from his father where he's just like, stand up, you're a king now. He's like, and like trying to follow tradition,
right?
And he has a lot of points in this movie where he has to prove to himself and everybody else that he is worthy of the title without the powers of the Black Panther, especially.
Yeah.
Which is a good, I love that. Yeah, like how he gets brought down to normal. Like both times, like 2 times in the film.
Yep. Pivotal points in fights, if you will.
And like it's basically like it's their version of just like, hey, now you gotta like, do you deserve this? Gets his ass kicked twice.
Yeah.
Barely comes back the first time, and through fucking luck comes back the second time.
It's like Homecoming. It's just like, well, if you need the suit, then you know. And I watching this film, and I understand now at the end of Civil War why he takes Cap in, is because their journeys are so similar. I mean, they're both leaders who wouldn't seek out to be leaders. I mean, it goes to the old saying, like, he who wants power should never have it. And the paradox is the people who don't want power are
probably
usually
the ones best handed power, sure.
And I think that his and Cap's journeys were similar in different directions, but they were both people who didn't really want their station, had to prove to get to their station, they had to prove themselves.
Yeah.
And then
that's a key point. They had to prove more to themselves that they deserved it than anybody else.
Yeah, that's who they were really proving it all for.
Yeah.
But sure, yeah, I definitely agree.
And they both jumped on a grenade.
Yes. Sure.
All right, very, very good parallel there. Yeah, not true.
Except that T'Challa had literally nothing to worry about.
Except that
he knew he would be fine.
Yeah. But like, also, and like, another thing I love about him is he was so accepting of Killmonger as soon as he found out who he was.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like he saw the ring and he's just like, I have some questions to ask. Found out he's his cousin. He's just like, he wanted to make things right.
Exactly.
Yep.
And like,
he
even
wanted to come to some kind of
Yeah.
understanding and compromise with it.
And best epitomized at the end when he's just like, when he takes him to see his first Wakandan sunset.
Which is a callback. They set that up much earlier in the film.
Yeah, they did.
And that's the point where he said, my dad said Wakanda is the most beautiful place on earth. That's when I started to cry. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to take him up to Earth.
He's just like, we can see. He's like, I think we can save you. And he's like, Killmonger's like confused for a second, but then he's just like, no.
Like you said, he said it before, like he knows he's too far gone, so this is it. But yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to add to protagonist that I thought Chadwick did an amazing job, like I said.
Yeah.
It was a perfect cast and like perfect casting choice, and the script gave him a lot of awesome stuff to work with for sure.
So I'm kind of hoping that he takes over as leader of Avengers once Cap's gone.
That would be fucking awesome. I'd be cool with that.
He should.
Yeah, I'm all good with that, but in Black Panther, he was the Black Panther, and I'm giving him a strong one.
Absolutely.
See, I was bordering on 0 on this.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I feel like T'Challa's character was actually the weakest in the film. Like Killmonger didn't not necessarily eclipse the character development, but I felt like there was a lot of things in Civil War that should have been
saved for this.
No, like I think the lessons that he learned in Civil War, like you were saying, should have prepared him a little bit better. And I don't feel like his character arc was as pronounced as we were talking about.
All right, I get you.
I mean, I see Civil War as his eyes were open in Civil War.
Yeah.
And now he had to apply. It's not a matter of learning the lessons. It's a matter of applying the lessons.
Plus, that's why he was able to. That's why he was able to. What's the word I'm looking for? He was able to see Killmonger's rage and revenge-driven actions as like how he felt.
No, he recognized.
He recognized himself in there.
Sure.
So yeah, it is definitely. I think this is a definite great way to tie into Civil War from a character point of view. The fact that it's like, okay, I see this in you. I called it back once with what's his name? The villain in
Baron
Civil
War?
Zemo. Yeah. I agree with you, Rich, what you just said.
Yeah, so like I guess
he still kills. The one thing was he kept Zemo alive, but he ends up killing Killmonger.
Yeah, but
which
not
I thought
was Killmonger killed himself.
But But the thing is, until he removed the spear, he wasn't going to bleed out. So he could have saved him.
Yeah, like he subdued him.
And which was interesting because that's the one thing he had
pulled
the
a John
spirit.
Wick.
Yeah.
He's just like,
Yeah,
fuck
pretty
this.
much. Yeah, true. That's a funny point. But no, like, I guess I see what you mean, Louis. Like, but to me, like, he had a pretty strong arc, so that's why I'm giving it a pretty strong one.
I think, well, yeah.
Even with, and on top of, like I said, the well done acting with it. So that's all. That's my argument for a 1. If that
Yeah, I
convinces
mean,
you.
I'm giving it a soft 1.
Okay. But
Okay.
still a 1 at the end of
Because
it.
I feel like, well, we're going to get on supporting. I think the supporting cast elevates pretty much everything with the arc with Chala, because
Right.
there's still like, I might come back. We'll
All
see.
right. Fair
We'll
enough.
see.
Giving it a soft 1, though, for now.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, I'll give it a soft 1.
Speaking of supporting, I guess we could roll right into that with
Yeah,
you.
there you go. Nice segue.
Yeah,
Go
I'd
for
say.
it.
So everybody on screen, I felt like I almost knew their personality and how to interact with almost every single one of them just because of how they were. Suri was probably my favorite.
Yep.
Me
Or not,
too.
Shuri.
Yep.
Shuri was probably my favorite just because like she was just kind of like the goofball, the one that's like, you know, not necessarily, she didn't take the whole royalty thing seriously too much. She was more interested in her work, kind of like helping her brother. But then you had characters like Wakabi, who was very stoic. He didn't have much screen time, which I was a little disappointed in. But from what you can tell, like he was very proud. He had a lot. You can tell just by his presence, and when Chala comes back without Claw, like you knew something was going to go down because he made a promise.
Especially like the looks on their face.
Yeah.
Wakabi's on his way, and like everybody's like,
Yeah,
"Damn."
Yeah, exactly. It said a lot. It said a
he's
lot
like,
with a
he's
little
like,
bit.
where is
Yeah, exactly.
And then he even says, he's like, I thought you'd be different than your father. You know, like 20 years we've been looking for this guy, kill my parents. You know, like it's pretty intense. But then with his relationship, Wakabi's relationship with Okoye, which you didn't see too much in the film, like, you know, they talk briefly
sort of
and things like that.
yeah,
But then
it,
that culminated in the battle where he's just like, would you really kill me? And she said,
For Wakanda?
For Wakanda?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that was his turning point where he realized, you know what, this battle, I feel like my revenge or my anger is clouding my judgment right now.
for sure.
And I'm putting my own tribe against my beloved's tribe, or, you know, against my country's tribe.
We are soon to be X's tribe because as soon as you nodded, you're on your way out.
I love the look she had when like he pulls out his sword and she's not sure whether or not he's gonna make her do it. And she's just like has that look of like fear on her face.
Yeah, again, like very nice little subtle like moments like that for sure.
I'd say for me, I have to give this a 1. I'll put Claw in like almost in the supporting cast. Like he's the secondary antagonist.
exactly.
I mean, he's
Supporting villain.
really honestly like he's really the one.
Just one boss.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he's really the one that like I didn't realize until later. Like the only reason Claw is there is so Killmonger has access to him, and then to kill him to gain even more leverage in Wakanda.
And
So I was thinking like that is brilliant.
I love that.
And what I think what made me get over Claw's death pretty quickly is that you saw that playing in his head. Like he was thinking back all their interactions and he knew exactly what was coming next.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like,
when Claw got his girlfriend, she's like, I'm sorry. He's like, it's okay. And then he kills her.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I like the fact that Claw was the key to Wakanda. I mean, it was.
Yeah, he was his in.
You knew, like you said, you could see the wheels turning in his head. You could see where this was going in somewhat. And that actually there was a payoff to him, and that Claw's death, that was the payoff to.
In a meta sense, he always has been, especially in the MCU.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But I don't know. I'm gonna agree that Shuri was definitely my favorite secondary character, but I do also agree that everyone did a good job. Angela Bassett as T'Challa's mother, Ramonda, I believe is her name, his character name, and what's his ex
Nakia.
Nakia was.
So I liked her. I think maybe they could have given her a little more to do, although like she did help out a lot.
There was a
she could have
lot-
some more screen time, is all I'm saying. But for what she did have, she did a very good job with it. I like Mubatu, I believe, as well, leader of the tribe, the gorilla tribe up in the mountains, and Daniel Kaluuya as Wakama. Sorry, the names sometimes blur a bit, but he did a great. Like he almost could have been if the movie was written a little bit differently, you could see him like becoming like a more major villain, if you will. Like he was sort of stuck in the middle of like two conflicts because of his convictions and again the sense of the past, but also his relationship and friendship with T'Challa. Like he was sort of torn between the two. But when Killmonger shows up, like he sort of is swayed to that side. But just overall, as you said, everyone did a really, really great job. The supporting cast really sold it. Okoye was awesome as well. I really liked her. I think, in fact, she had just the right amount of screen time, and to give her character a lot of like you said, like not even like inferred, like they dropped just enough that you know who she is and what she's like and why she does what she does and what her convictions are. So yeah, everybody did a damn solid job. The core supporting cast deserved a really strong one.
And for a movie
an easy one to answer 1-2 on this one.
For a movie that has such a big supporting cast, everybody was really well rounded. There was no ciphers in here.
Oh, we're forgetting Ross.
Yes.
And,
as he was saying,
I was actually going to bring him up because I thought he would have been so easy. He would have been the easiest one to make very dry. He would have been very easy to not to give
over.
To give any dimension to like here's a CIA suit and let's blah blah blah, and it would have been very easy also to turn him into
like a cliche.
What's his
like
name?
fodder too.
I was kind of expecting him to die like Coulson did in the Avengers.
Exactly.
And I'm so glad they didn't. And I loved who is the head of the tribe, the gorilla guy. M'Baku. I love it when Martin Freeman is like, Your Highness, and then they all went, he goes, you will not speak again. And then they all start laughing like they're fucking with this guy.
Yeah,
Well, they were.
Yeah,
He said, feed you to my children.
Yeah, don't speak again or I'll feed you to my children. He's like, nah, don't worry. We're
Just call vegetarians.
Yeah, it's a nice little moment of levity.
Like, he was like, it would have been very easy for them to like have him be like, to come in and just like really be hands on with what was going on. Like he was like,
he was the man out of water.
He's fish out of water.
Fish out of water, and like he knew when to shut the fuck up, and he knew when to offer his help and his information.
Yeah, but he handled everything.
Yeah.
Like
And he
I said,
contributed to the final
he
plan.
handled
Exactly.
being fucked with well, and like when Shura said, here, you're going to be flying, Shuri.
Yeah.
You're going to be flying the this thing. And he's like, it's a simulator, and he's kind of like, okay. And there was like you said, he immediately fell in.
And he takes to it.
He takes
pretty
to
quickly.
it. She is definitely there doing the cue thing where she's just like,
Coaching him along.
coaching him along. She's like, get out of there. And, when he's just like, no, I've got 30 seconds left to take this guy down. And it was one of these things where everybody just worked together, and it wasn't like any, seeing somebody like walk off the field and at the last minute they come in as Dex Machina. Everything was there. Everything was set up. Everybody had an arc. And this is a supporting cast of at least 10.
Yeah. It's a pretty big, like you said, pretty big ensemble. And they all got enough of the spotlight and contribute. Like nobody again was wasted. Like they didn't like shoehorn anybody just to be there or introduce somebody just to do nothing with them.
And
even the woman who is the front for the underground casino.
Oh yeah.
She even had a really nice little personality for somebody who is just basically this
bit character essentially.
A bit character. You could tell that there was this history. I mean, you could just see what kind of person she was. I thought she was great too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
For me, anyone that was on screen, they you paid attention to, they gave him just enough that you knew exactly what, kind of person that they were. And when, was it, what's, Chala's girl's name?
Nakia?
Yeah. When Nakia started speaking Korean, I was like, get out of here.
That was
But
awesome.
she's like, yeah, she was a great spy though. Like it totally fits in her character as well. But for me, when I was thinking about supporting cast, usually you want to focus on the weakest one. And there wasn't any single one that I felt like was frail or was always, in danger. I mean, Chala's sister, Shuri almost did, she almost did get killed, but she wasn't, acting like a damsel in distress. She was putting up a fight, making sure and try to buy time.
And then she even gave him a fuck you at the end too.
Yeah,
It's like, you will never be a king.
Yeah. The other thing that I liked about about everybody's talking about the network of spies. We were always I was mentioning before, like Winter Soldier, and we were talking about the parallels to the Bond things. It's just like there is this whole espionage thing that's also going on.
Yep.
I mean, like, as I said before, you take this out of the MCU, and this in and of itself is a very complete, very well thought out, very
exactly self-contained story.
This is a great
absolutely.
world that this movie takes place in.
Yep, I 100% agree.
And I also have to say, as an older brother to a younger sister, there's between the two actors, you get a sense that whatever they did, like to prepare for these roles, it's like there was like a lot of little subtext between siblings that wasn't said, but there's like a lot of just through mannerisms. They're like there's a lot of inside jokes. I mean, overtly when she was going to do the salute, and he's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And they do
it. That's the one I was going to mention.
Sorry, dude, I didn't want to step on.
You're right though. Like it's such a perfect little touch to have because it says so much about the relationship with each other. So good call. But,
and it's one of those things.
So they never they don't stand on ceremony between the two of each other.
So yeah, I'm definitely giving
that's definitely
all
one
the
for
supporting
me.
cast a 1.
Yeah.
So Chris, got dialogue.
This is one of those things where I'm noticing with this movie, everything is so tightly integrated that like we're bleeding over so much, and the dialogue was great. I laughed out loud, genuinely laughed out loud. There were some great, it was very natural. All the dialogue was very natural, whether there was no like quirky trying to be clever dialogue in this. There was no, like Tony Stark stuff can be clever, but it can also be kind of,
somewhat forced.
Somewhat forced. Some of it's very natural.
A little too much Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, a little too much.
Through.
And like I said, with the thing that I really appreciate with T'Challa and Shuri, is that their dialogue, how they talk to one another and how they talk to their mother, and how so it wasn't just a matter of what was said, it was also how it said. And as I think you guys discussed in Shape of Water, that a lot of nonverbal stuff can be dialogue. Like I know, as I said, as an older brother, when we hang out with my sister, there's always these little jokes that you still, twig to after like however long you've been together, and nonverbal cues like that accompanied whatever little dialogue that was there. That was part of it. And so,
especially that look that he gives when he makes it back to Wakanda in the beginning of the movie, where you get like that look that all siblings have, where I'm gonna fuck with you right now.
Oh, and I do have to say the absolute best, and I definitely want her to come to every family occasion and every formal occasion I go to. When they had the ceremony and they're about the challenge, and everybody's like, anybody else want to challenge? And she raises her hand.
Oh yeah,
Shuri, and she's just like, look, this course is really uncomfortable. Can we wrap this thing up?
Shit, yeah.
I'm like, yes, that is exactly, that's exactly probably what all of us wanted to say at any given time at any family function or any formal function. I'm like, love this woman.
Yes. So,
how about that one?
So, I mean, I'm definitely giving it a 1. It's just, there's no really any line. It's just this move. I'll bring it on to you guys if you want to, if there's any lines you especially loved. I thought it was great.
Well, this is the one I was wavering on because, again, almost in the meta thing, I don't know if this is going to be a 10 movie. It's a really strong movie. So I was debating in my own mind, like, if I was going to take away points, it might be for dialogue, but not that it was bad by any means. Like you said, it was very natural. And like there were some good little moments. So like, I don't know if it necessarily deserves a 0. I was just sort of like doing it to try to like balance out that fact. But at the same time, as a sort of straw man argument, I guess that, yeah, it was all solid, but nothing was necessarily standout per se. If we just strip it down to dialogue. However, the point about like you're saying, like, people's like reactions on their faces, like their facial tics when they are expressing something, or when Okoye was about to get in conflict with Okabe. So if you count that stuff, then yeah, that was really well done, really subtly like integrated. So if I give it enough credit on that front, it might be a soft 1, but probably still 1. But I'm just saying, like, I felt dialogue was the weakest part of the film, even though it wasn't weak per se, if that makes sense. Everything else around it, all the other categories, I think, to me, were more easier to give 1s to. So this is the one I was just debating previously, like before going into the cast. But I think you guys pretty much solidly convinced me that I'm going to give it a soft 1 maybe, but still a 1 at the end of the day. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, there was, I was also on that, kind of on the fence.
Yeah.
With, because there's great lines, I had a lot of fun with the movie, it made me laugh on occasion. But there wasn't nothing intrinsically like that pushed it to the level where I thought, this is something new that I've heard before, or it's a little more nuanced and everything like that. There's on occasions like Killmonger was a little melodramatic. Like he's very,
a
very,
little, but not too.
very Bond villainish.
He wasn't like a large hand.
But he did. But he didn't give any of those.
But his action though, obviously led to a different outcome. How I felt about it, but obviously the dialogue
I feel you though. He was treading close.
Yeah,
there was a couple of points when he was like Apocalypse style,
and
like,
of course, and
whatever.
on the opposite side of the spectrum, like Chala is also very not necessarily pragmatic. He's trying to be idealistic, and I'm like, ugh, rolling my eyes and like, come on, get over it. And people talking about, there's occasions where I felt a little taken out of the film, but overall, I can't necessarily say. I think this died down a little bit, but I can't give it necessarily a 0. I'm not inclined to give it a 0 right now.
And
that's kind of how I've wound up to be, Louis. So,
and here's one of the things I talk about a lot when we hit dialogue is like, for me with dialogue, for me to give you a 0, you actually have to. It has to
be actively bad.
It has to be. No, it's got to sound scripted. Like right. When you have a group of people and it's not very natural conversation where it sounds like we're all following a script, or it's just face palmingly awful.
Sure.
And I would say this is more on the colorful side of naturalistic, where the jokes felt genuine. Like I said, they don't feel like they were like these quips, like the Tony Stark. Right. Robert Downey Jr. quips.
Time for Tony Stark joke here.
Yeah,
I get you mean.
Exactly. Like. So, I'm just saying that, there wasn't any, like, thing that was stand out per se, but situationally, I thought everything was appropriate. I thought everything felt very fresh and very lively.
Yeah, I'll agree at the end of the day. It's just that this one I was questioning the most of the topics, but I will end up giving it a soft 1 at this point, so.
Oh, man.
I'm giving it a 1.
All right.
This may be a 10 movie, boys.
Yeah, I know. It's looking, like I said, like, again, like.
Yeah, because you can't give the next one a 0.
Yeah. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. And I'll tell you why. I believe, is it on me first?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's on you, brother.
All right, so it's to style. And yeah, it was a fucking amazing looking movie. Wakanda itself, like the design of it, I fucking loved. I especially like the cinematography of both like the aerial shots and sort of like how it felt on the ground when they were like sort of like walking through like the streets and roads of the city. The design of the mines, like the big panthers, of course, are like carved out of the mountain. That looked amazing. When he gets sent to the ancestral plane, the shot of that looked really cool. So you got everything about it. The soundtrack was fucking awesome. I'll let you guys speak more about it, but it was just perfectly like made sense. It was sort of like rap style, but with like some African like root tribal music combined into it. It all flowed very well with all the scenes. The fight scenes were fucking sweet. I'll say that for sure. Like you were saying, when Shuri was like doing like the VR sort of driving the car, I thought that was really like a very an original, interesting,
so dope.
Yeah, original little interesting idea that you haven't seen before in a Marvel movie. So yeah, it just like you said, this is one of the easiest ones to give a 1 to. I instantly thought style was going to be a very strong one, and for all those reasons, and just a lot of subtle stuff that looked cool.
Like
they made it seem effortless, like how cool it looked.
Like the scanner that they have in the beginning.
Yep.
When he's like, brings up the road, picks up the truck, opens it up, sees the key in there, like sets it back down in the convoy.
Really cool.
I don't know. There's a few people literally like in this movie theater, and myself included, I was just like, "Oh shit, like that is amazing."
Yeah,
it's like Tony Stark doesn't have that.
Yeah, nope. Exactly. He wishes he had that shit. But yeah, so like, there's not much more I can praise style for. It just all around was really, really well done. It popped. It was visually appealing. Was musically appealing. So
yeah, I was gonna say I just found out the composer Ludwig Göransson is 33 years old. I'm like, God, what have I done with my life?
Not this soundtrack.
Obviously. But to what you were saying in terms of layers, and I we were talking about this, and yeah, while Rich, Beth, and I had lunch, I downloaded the soundtrack from iTunes.
Nice.
And the thing I love about it, and I love this in a lot of really, I think I've said it before, we live in a great time for modern composers, and most modern composers. It's a renaissance, man. It is. You see people like Barry McCrary or Ramin Djawadi, who combine a lot of different styles in their music. And to your point, you said I was listening to one when they were flying into Wakanda, and you heard like there was a kind of a drum machine underneath, and then you've got the African percussion and the African rhythms, and then you have the sweeping strings over it. The music is
perfectly mixed.
Yeah, the music is phenomenal. The wardrobe and the costume
design, good
are
call.
just phenomenal. They're
ridiculously good.
These
Good
are the
call.
most beautiful costumes I've seen since in a long time. The Great Wall, I think, for as weird a movie as that was, had some beautiful costumes. These were even better than those. These were
Wakanda better than Great Wall. Gotcha.
Wakanda better than Great Wall.
Yeah.
So for me, so I know we're praising it a lot. I have two things that kind of I would say as a criticism.
Okay.
I'm not going to give it a 0 for sure. But one thing is like the lighting. On occasion, it was a little too dark. There was there's things that it was very hard to tell what was going on, especially if when they're wearing like not necessarily black clothing, but like dark clothing. Like I was sitting in like almost in the middle of the theater, and I'm like, I can't quite tell.
See, I was wondering about that.
And it was quick action too. Not only was it quick action, but it was like it seemed like really dark lighting
at the beginning.
A lot of that too was like. Some of it was where he was sitting, but like it was pretty dark at that point.
I wasn't sure because we were kind of on the side, which we weren't in the center, and I'm sitting here.
Saying it was parallax.
And I'm like sitting here going, is it dark because of where we're sitting and it's meant to be viewed on, or is it just the way it's shot?
Yeah.
And after you just said that at the beginning scene where they're taking care of, I guess it was the poachers.
Mm-hmm.
Slave traders. Slave traders. Yeah. That's right, because she was a spy with the
women.
Yeah, I was I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was so glad you said that because that's something I meant to ask you guys before.
Now the thing is, it's funny that you did mention that I now that you do, I remember like noticing it, but maybe it didn't like grate on me or like it didn't like break me away from the film. But certainly, as you mentioned, it was there. So maybe I'm not if that was an intentional thing. Like, you know, obviously, like, it made it into the end of the movie, but...
I could see that because it's the first time we're seeing Black Panther, and it kind of reminded me of, like, Predator.
Yeah.
Almost in the sense.
But
what like,
to be as disoriented as the...
As the people who are supposed to be there.
But then, to go on to that, like, there's a lot of jump cuts. You know, that's very reminiscent of, like, you know, Jason Bourne movies and things like that. And this guy, this director did Creed.
Yeah.
Who not lived on, but, like, at least in that movie, like, there was really long takes or, like, shots that, you know, didn't break.
I see what you mean.
And I was hoping to see that,
only,
you know,
the only
Killmonger
hint,
also. Like, there was a lot of jumps, in the action scenes. I'm just like, I'm not sure what's going on.
Like, the only hint that we actually got from that was the casino fight.
Yeah.
For a little bit.
Yeah, and that was phenomenal.
But that was a great fight.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I do want to point out two things, though.
I made it rain.
Well, that was a good joke, sure. I do want to mention two things because we mentioned at precast that the opening, like, narration as he's hearing the story, the history,
beautiful.
Like, the way they did it, like, it was, like, built out of sand almost.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, the whole history of, like, when the comet coming down and then building Wakanda and the tribes coming together and then they notice the outside world creeping and so like World War II planes built out of sand are like coming by as he's describing like the world got worse so we like made sure we were safe and all that and then at the ending Rich and I said
the
this
closing credits
the closing credit like Panther's made it looked like a Bond thing as well, and it looked fucking cool. If you ever seen like a Bond opening or closing, it looked just like that, and it was awesome. And again, set to an awesome song.
And the sand thing was also a great aesthetic for the holograms, because if you looked behind the holograms, it was like
I noticed that too.
That sand texture.
It's kind of reoccurring. It's a reoccurring thing that they have because I mean the sand thing is like they bury him in the sand when he does the ancestral
and then
or the black
even
Panther,
even the ice is granular.
Yep.
So it looks like sand.
Exactly.
So like it's all very well like again internally consistent and looked great. So got to give Style one.
So before, like, two more things with Style that I noticed that I really loved was the cold open, because there is a cold open in this right before the Marvel Studios thing, which I really hope they start doing because that was just that got me pumped.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I got like if they like so you know in Spider-Man they did the orchestral 60s Spider-Man thing. It'd be really cool if they did like the drums, like kind of a tribal, like Wakandan tribal thing over the Marvel Studios thing. But whatever, that's just me, trying to
be nice,
whatever.
Be sweet if they did that. Sure.
But the soundtrack, Kendrick Lamar, man, the soundtrack that they had and the way they intertwined it, they didn't force the music onto you. When they get into the car chase scene and Claw's just like, turn the radio on. What is this, a funeral?
Yeah,
and it's
great.
Kendrick Lamar comes on and just like and I think Psy was playing when they're in Korea.
Yeah,
just like random stuff. And I'm just sitting there like. It's organic.
Yep.
You know, you're not just like, next scene, music.
We're going to have this.
And then peter it off and like dialogue even comes on.
Like when Killmonger's like, when he makes his presence known, like you get that mix of like the African drums and hip hop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like
Exactly.
both of his worlds coming together.
Exactly. Yeah.
That must have been the part I was thinking about when he was coming into Wakanda.
Yeah. But yeah, it all worked together. Like, again, it all...
Well, yeah, when Chala...
No,
well,
that-
yeah, the way they mirror both characters, too. Like, when
Absolutely.
Chala is going in, like, you don't see Killmonger, but, like, too much. But when he's, like, coming, I think, with the body, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but, like, when Chala's coming back, like, they have, like, you know, the drums and everything like that. And he's like, this never gets old. He's like, I don't... He's like, I still can't believe it or whatever. Like, they go
this,
through
this
the
part
mirror.
never gets old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love doing this every single time. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
and then like
awesome.
they fly through the skyline and they have the drums and everything and everybody like knows that's Black Panther in that ship and it's the exact like it's the feel and tone, everything changes when it's Killmonger, like when he gets buried,
Yep.
you know, he's resuscitated, how it was phenomenally
Yeah.
beautifully
It reflects-
beautifully shot.
Yeah, reflects the characters, and it just, looked great all around. So, got to give Star 1, I think.
One.
All
with
around.
that question.
One.
So it brings us to
Recommendation.
me with recommendation, right?
Yep.
Yes. Go see it. Go
Yep.
see it. It's a very good movie, regardless of being a superhero film. I think it could have worked without those elements. As far as Marvel films go, it's definitely tops for me.
Yep.
I would say that if we were to remove the Marvel tag and you would have made this movie 15 years ago, prior to when they were doing this, it would be a franchise in and of itself. This, I think,
Nice.
this movie
Good call.
culturally, historically, might be one of the biggest things that comes out in our generation because it's not anything like you ever seen before. If it was not Wakanda, you would have put Nigeria, you would put any other African country in there. This would be hailed as one of the crowning achievements in cultural film history.
And I think to say it's Shakespearean is a really good comparison because structurally it is very Shakespearean.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yes, as Rich said, yes, Black Panther was
Yes.
fucking great. You should go see it. Apparently, it's already killing it. Like, it opened as the time of this recording. It opened yesterday, and it's like people are like, "Here's money, and good," because as seriously as Louis said, like I think it is a landmark achievement in films, even with both within and without the superhero tag, like the Marvel Studio tag. So yeah, it's one of the best ones they've done. Probably. It's in my top 5 Marvel films, like instantly, at least right now.
I would say that.
It's fresh. I just saw it, admittedly, but I would definitely see it again. I think Rich, you did see it twice.
I did see it twice.
Already.
Nice.
If I had the time, I would.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was fucking awesome. So if you haven't seen it, go see it as soon as you can because it's one of the best Marvel films and just a really, really great film in general, as we just said. So,
And I think Louis nailed it on the head. I think like if you look at, I think the best thing to say about a franchise film is you take away the Marvel, you take away the MCU, and this is just a good film. It's like, you know, The Wrath of Khan, or as I mentioned, The Winter Soldier.
or The Dark Knight or something
or
like
The
that.
Dark Knight. You take any one of those things out of it, and, you know, you can get everything you need. You take it out of as an isolated. It's a good movie.
Absolutely.
Empirically.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things where
Period.
Period.
Yes.
It is a landmark film in a lot of ways. It is a very classic film in a lot of ways.
It's both
And-
classic and sort of modern, of course,
Yeah,
as well. At the same
definitely.
Yeah,
time.
no, of course.
film,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely the
like
mix.
you're saying-
It's a mix of both, the old and the new.
So
really.
as far as MCU, it's definitely probably my favorite. You know, right next to something like Winter
Like
Soldier,
Winter Soldier, yeah.
which has been the high watermark up until now.
Yep.
And
Raising the bar.
nothing against either one of the two of them. It's just like here's you learn some lessons from something that works, and you say, you know what, I'm going to adapt them, and I can add this twist to it, and it's more of a you're personalizing your adversary, whatever, and it's just you learn from the successes, you learn from the mistakes, and you make a movie like this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Strong one.
Strong one.
Go
for
see
me,
it.
yeah,
Go see it
absolutely.
twice.
Go see it 3 times.
Yeah.
As many times, but bankrupt yourself going to see this movie.
Yes.
Make this the biggest box office. Make it beat like Avatar and Titanic, and make James Cameron weep.
Set a new Marvel record.
Yeah.
Make
Let's start off low.
Yeah.
see if we can make it up to there.
Yeah. But anyway, that's all I got to say
Yeah.
about that.
So, Chris, you got a hard time coming over the aggregate score.
yeah. I think we've given
Pretty
it.
sure we all gave it 10s, right?
We all give it 10.
10, yeah.
Rarely does this happen.
And I mean, like,
so I have to ask, because we do every single time this happens, is it a perfect 10 movie?
at this point, having talked it out, I think it might be. Like, any flaws would be like super little superficial nitpicks, really. And I mentioned the ones, and even those weren't enough. And even the ones that you guys presented weren't enough to convince me to give anything a 0. So at this point, yeah, I think we've almost proved here that it's a 10 movie. And
I don't mean to take any, I don't want you to think when I say like, oh, it's like The Wrath of Khan, which is one of my favorite movies, or The Dark Knight, or anything. But that's the thing is, it's like, this is probably going to end up being one of my favorite movies because you can take it out of this world because on its own. And I know we've talked about it for quite some time, and I don't think I can ever say enough good things about this movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, what it comes down to is that, it first and foremost was a Black Panther movie. It didn't come out to be like Marvel Studios presents Black Panther or, Black Panther : whatever, Infinity, Soulstone or whatever.
Infinite Panthers.
Yeah. Like
sure.
It made sure it gave you like not only an abridged history but like a current state of affairs. It placed itself in the world. And I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, but it's a complete movie. Yeah. And it's as close as you get to 100. It's like 99.9999999.
Infinitely repeating as if Ian Manzer were here, he might say that. But
sure. I think it is a solid 10 movie for what it's worth. I mean, granted, I said before, like, T'Challa to me was probably the weakest, which is kind of funny because he's in
his own movie, but sure.
Yeah, but he's starring as Black Panther. Although we did have 3 Black Panthers on screen, so just saying,
true.
He might have been the weakest one.
Either way,
but
it's still a 10 movie.
But I'd say it's still a 10 movie.
His costume wasn't even the best.
Yeah,
like T'Chaka with the fucking Coming to America sash.
That was a good one. That was solid.
And the I almost said Kilgrave. Eric's how like
the gold.
Well, the gold. I don't know. I think I like the glowing purple better, but the gold on the helmet was pretty solid.
I like Killmonger's a little bit too.
Yeah, Killmonger's was a little a lot of bling on that.
A little more intricate is all. But yeah, so
it's.
I think that's about it.
It's 10. Black Panther's a 10 movie. Yeah, check it out.
Any last thoughts?
No. I think I said everything we're going to say about it.
All right. So thank you for joining us for this review. Been Rich Perry, Wakanda Forever. Reese Durant.
Don't freeze.
Chris Morgan.
Wakanda Forever.
And Scott Thurlow.
Wakanda Forever. Good night.
Editing and engineering by Christopher Morgan. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows and on Facebook and Twitter for updates.